So let me begin the session. Today's session will be in English, primarily because the people who propagate this brilliant idea of Tamil being the oldest language of universe, far older than even Sanskrit, are people who do not understand Hindi much, and they understand Tamil, they understand English. So I will talk in English. They also do not understand Sanskrit much, because had they understood Sanskrit in depth, they would have not come with this kind of a notion. So for sake of these people, I am going to talk in Tamil. No, sorry. I am going to talk in English. The reason I cannot talk in Tamil, because if I say that Tamil is the oldest language in the world, then I don't know which Tamil they are referring to. The reality of the fact is that today itself there are maybe 15, 20 or even more different versions of Tamil. So yes, Tamil is one of the oldest languages, and there is no doubt about it. And because it has been one of the oldest languages, there are so many variations of Tamil. Is there any problem with the audio? I think Ganesh ji has said that he is getting an echo somewhere in the voice. Is that the case? Can somebody else confirm, please? Okay, thank you. So I think it's all fine. So there are at least 15 different versions of Tamil existing today. You know, there is another language of similar nature, which is an old language, and this is not surprising. This is the language called Arabic. So people, the people in the Arabic world, they also come with this notion. They say that Arabic is the oldest language in the world. That they believe that Islam is the oldest religion and Arabic is the oldest language in the world. They also say Arabic is the most spread out language in the world. The reality of the matter is that Arabic, there is no single language called Arabic. The Arabic is so diversified that apart from sharing a common script and maybe some few words, the Arabic in Syria, the Arabic in Saudi Arabia, the Arabic in Egypt, the Arabia in all other countries are so different that people from one place cannot even talk to other person and understand the Arabic. So for all practical purposes, it is like a combination of 20 different languages. The difference of Arabic between a Saudi Arabia Arabic and a Morocco Arabic is more than the difference between, say, Hindi and Marathi, or Hindi and Gujarati, or Gujarati and Marathi. So they are far closer than the Arabics. So something similar, though not that extreme, is also the reality of the Tamil language. The Tamil language, the way it exists today, there is a different version of Tamil or a different style of Tamil that varies every few kilometers. And as you approach the borders of Karnataka, the Tamil of that language at places is actually more Kannada than Tamil. So apart from the fact that they are using a script, they are using a Tamil script, which is a very old script, but that is not the oldest script. The old Tamil used to be written in a different script. So we'll talk about that later. The fact is that there is a gradation. There is a uniform continuity. I mean, though people who have studied mathematics, unfortunately, the people who do these kind of researches on language, etc., they have not studied mathematics. They have not studied what limits are, what continuity is, what differentiability is. They don't realize that this is like a smooth, continuous function. And in fact, if you go across India, you know, every few kilometers the language changes, and there is a gradation. So the boundaries that we have put on different languages, they are boundaries that we have put just for convenience. So for example, though we say North India talks in Hindi language. The modern Hindi that we talk about is a very recent language. It was a language of one specific part of North India, which was then, further standardized and spread across as a uniform part. And nobody had any objection, because obviously, if we want to communicate as one nation in the 20th century, then obviously we need a common language. But if you go into the details of it, the language, the Braj Bhasha, the Awadhi, the Marwadi, the Mewadi, even within Marwadi, the Marwadi of the Bikaner side, the Marwadi of the Ganganagar. So all those are very different. The Rajasthani Bhasha, Rajasthani itself has around 20 different dialects. And sometimes if I ask you, for example, most of you who tell themselves that they are very fluent in Hindi, even to them, if I give them a poem of Surdas or Tulsidas, one written in Braj or one written in Awadhi, it is difficult sometimes to understand what we are reading unless somebody helps us, unless somebody explains those words, those grammar roots and stuff. So the point is that this language varies in a very continuous harmonic fashion across India, and even in case of Tamil, the Tamil which is used in regions which are close to the Karnataka border, I would say, are more Kannada than Tamil. Those which are used close to the Andhra Pradesh or Telangana border are more Telugu than Tamil. It is very difficult to create a unique separation line. And that is why, just as Tamil people, they say that Tamil is the oldest language, very legitimately based on exactly the same logic. There are experts, there are scholars who have done similar kind of research, and they have tried to prove that Kannada is the oldest language. And that is true. If you believe that Tamil is the oldest language, then there is no reason to believe that Kannada is not the oldest language. Similarly, there is no reason to believe that Telugu is the oldest language. The reason being, the one part of the reason is that there is a continuous gradation of language difference across. It is very difficult to say which one is exclusively Tamil, which one is exclusively Telugu, which one is exclusively Kannada, because the whole variation is much more. And in fact, let me tell you, the variation within Karnataka or the variation within this Andhra and Telangana region is far less. So, so I am a data scientist, so excuse me if I get a bit technical. We do this, when we do these clustering algorithms, so what we try to do is try to create clusters whose variance or variation across the points that get into that cluster is minimum, and the variance with the other similar clusters is highest. So that is what we define as different clusters. So the point I am trying to make is that the variance within all those languages, within all those regions which claim that they are speaking or they are using Tamil today, is far greater than the variations or the variance within those who say we are speaking Kannada or those who are speaking Telugu. And there is a smooth gradation. So if from a data science perspective, I have to classify and I have to choose one language and say, okay, this might be the oldest language, there is more valid, more sensible reasons. Assuming that I know a bit of mathematics and I am a bit unbiased, that I would then say that Kannada or Telugu is a more probable candidate to be the oldest language. Now, the second part of this, the reason I'm saying this, so now somebody may say, you cannot just make this claim based on what is there today, but you have to go to the history. Perfectly right. So if you go to the history, so the whole reason, let me again tell you, the whole reason why this thing came up, this theory of Tamil being the oldest language came up, and why it has nurtured or it has become such a reality that even the Prime Minister of India, when he has to praise Sanskrit, he has to add a disclaimer that, okay, I am praising. So I think yesterday, 2 days ago. I think the Prime Minister of India, I think he does some program, I forget that name, some bath. He has some program which comes on every Sunday or every fourth Sunday or something. I have never watched it. I just looked at summaries at times. So where he talks about his, I think it's Man Ki Baat, yeah. So he talks about whatever he feels, etc. So whatever, I think that is the theme. So last time I think he praised Sanskrit a lot, and so before praising, he had to also make a disclaimer that Tamil is the oldest language. And similarly, I think he did some. I think he had some program, and I think he's also written some book for to help students pass examinations, some exam warrior or something. So he was having some program there, which was about how to prepare for exams and be confident about exams. Yeah, thank you, Man Ki Baat. Yeah, I remember that. So there also, I mean, out of the blue, suddenly, when he was praising all the languages, he was also praising the languages of Northeast. He suddenly made a very, I would say, a singular statement, non-continuous, non-differentiable, sudden step function, or not even step, I would say spike function. One line, Tamil is the oldest language. I can't speak, I don't know Tamil, I cannot understand Tamil, but I know that Tamil is the most beautiful language and it is the oldest language. And then he would talk about other languages. Because what has happened is that due to this Dravid politics today, if somebody has to make inroads in Tamil Nadu as a political party, the first thing that he has to say is that, okay, so far you agree to be part of India. I admit that you are the greatest geniuses, you are the oldest, you are the best, you are the most perfect. Everybody else is an idiot. So that is the kind of fanatic, which is called Dravidian politics today. So if you need votes there, that is the kind of brainwashing that has happened in that part. And the genesis of that, let me trace that part and tell you. The reason is that the same, I mean, not many people know about it. The reason is that till 1960, all these ancestors of these Dravidian parties which are existing today, they were actually demanding, they were running a revolution, a Bagavat, an entire rebellion to create a separate country just like Pakistan. So the heroes of these Dravidian politicians today, he was some fellow called Periyar. He actually praised, he congratulated the partition of India into India and Pakistan. He congratulated Jinnah. He made very laudatory statements praising Islam and Quran and etc. and why India should be separated, in the hope that he will also be able to create a separate country. So these are basically separatist people. And Jawaharlal Nehru, despite all the things that he had done with him, I have severe objections with that fellow, our first Prime Minister. I have severe differences with him on many issues, in fact, most of the issues. But he did one thing. What he did was, just before the China war, that was when he suddenly realized that, his punch shield, his silly punch shield democracy, this punch shield diplomacy has failed big time. And it was like one of the worst times that India had faced. At that time, he at least did one good thing, that he used that pressure, that embarrassment, to bring an ordinance or an act in India which says that nobody can, no political party, nobody can even think of talking about separating from India. And he used his force and pressure, perhaps first time in his own entire career, to force these Dravidian parties to give up the demand for a separate nation or face dire consequences. And at that time, the Muhurt was right. What was happened was, this Periyar, who was the founder of the separatist movement, if you can say, this fellow was found sleeping with somebody of the age of his granddaughter, because he said that he married almost her granddaughter, maybe great-granddaughter, that age a girl, because he wanted to protect his property or something. So whatever be it, at age of 60, 70 or etc., he was sleeping around with some 20-year-old or something. So that actually created a huge controversy in the party. And many of his die-hard loyalists, like Annadurai, they actually separated out from Periyar, calling him a characterless Buddha or whatever. So that was the time when that separatism also happened, and the timing of this Nehru pressure happened. So it became a blessing in disguise, and this thing then stopped. So there was a unwritten truce that, we will not talk much about or hype about this partition, this separatism movement in South India much, and let's forget the history and let us move ahead. And in return, you just stop talking about being a separate country or whatever, etc. So this is how this thing happened. But that Dravidian, that philosophy, that ideology, that Periyar lost his voice, he lost his respect, he lost a lot of things. So what happened was, this entire politics, the entire Dravidian politics, though it was forced to not be a separatist like Kashmir today, it was actually a Kashmir at that time, though Kashmiris are more brutal because by nature of their faith and religion and all those nonsense, there is a level of brutality. But otherwise, this was a very separatist movement. And the whole idea of this separatist movement was that we are separate, we are different. So there was this entire theory of Aryans coming from north, and they're pushing these native people down south, till they came up to Tamil Nadu. And in Tamil Nadu, they are these Dravidians who are the original inhabitants of this land, and Aryans are the invaders. So these Brahmins, these people who talk about Vedas, the people who talk about Sanskrit, they are the invaders, they are the invading cult, and Tamil is the original, the native reality, the native roots of this nation. So this entire story was built. It's a very compelling story. They fooled a lot of people. There was a huge amount of lack of education. Even today, the interiors of Tamil Nadu are among the most uneducated, most backward places in the whole world. So what is happening is that they used this backwardness. Then there were these social gaps, obviously. We had something called a very stupid notion of caste system, which we could not give up despite it being something very blatantly anti-Hindu. So all these factors, and then British, had an agenda to, propel all kind of divisive forces, because that is how you can rule such a big nation. So all these worked together, it created the Dravid movement. And then what happened was that this became so down south, the reality became that yes, Tamil is the reality, and everybody else is a mixed population or a, Aryan influence or whatever. So those kind of things started happening. Then even the Brahmin community there, the people who till that time did not actually differentiate between Tamil and Sanskrit. Both were important for them. Even they were forced for survival to admit that yes, Tamil is the original root language and Sanskrit is just the language for our prayers. Then gradually they started even building their new books of prayers and mantras and stotras. They started using some of their ancient texts, Tamil texts. But this is where the problem came. Because if you look at at least most of the bulk of literature of Tamil, there is a huge amount of influence of Sanskrit. You cannot remove that influence of Sanskrit. So then there was even a movement for cleaning the Tamil. And at time this Periyar himself, who was father of this separatist ideology, he got so frustrated that he abused Tamil language. Because the whole idea was, see, raising a revolution is a different thing. But when it came to actually getting into reality, they found that it is impossible to separate Tamil from Sanskrit. And that time he got frustrated. They wanted a Tamil which was free from Sanskrit. And it led to a lot of frustration. So even today, though, they have created some kind of a Tamil which is free from Sanskrit, to a large extent, but still they are not able to completely get rid of Sanskrit. It is like, you want to make a human body which can act, which can think, etc., but it should not have a brain. So it is something like that. The brain is an integral part of my complete self. Similarly, Sanskrit has been a complete part of Tamil. So this is the genesis. Now, before this, how this movement came. Now, the one part is that there is this entire Dravidian politics. This politics is so intense. People are so brainwashed. Just like, if I go and tell, like this Imran Khan, he took oath in Pakistan. So he had to admit that, look, I believe Prophet is the last prophet, and I don't believe that Qadianis are real Muslims, and I believe all non-believers in Islam will go to hell. He had to read all those things in the oath. If you look at his oath ceremony, he was not able to pronounce those words, but he had to still read out. So that was actually a very hilarious oath-taking ceremony if you check the videos, but he had to say, you have to believe. If you want to survive, you have to believe. So this is kind of a fanaticism that prevailed down south also. It is still prevailing. So that is why, people like even Kamal Hassan and this fellow, who is that Kannada fellow who became an actor down south and now trying to get into politics. Some fellow who would do something, sleight of hand and this thing. So he has been a very popular actor out there. He acted with some films in Amitabh Bachchan also. So he has a very cult following, whatever. But that fellow, he used to be very liberal. He's a Kannada, by the way. But now if he has to survive there, he has to create a movie called Kala, where, all that movie is a representation of Aryan invasion theory, where all the natives are wearing black colors, they are dark people, and all the Aryans, the Ram, etc., are ridiculed. They are the attackers, and then the whole story is put in a modern setup. Yeah, Rajinikanth. So that short-heighted fellow who does all of these sleight of hand. So he has a very cult following. There are, I think, even temples about him. So that is that is all a political situation. So I can understand my PM forced to say these things because his party needs to make inroads in Tamil Nadu, and in the last many attempts that they have made in Tamil Nadu, they have got even less votes than Nota. So it is important maybe for them from a political reason to praise these Tamilians and say Tamil is the oldest language and hope that something happens. But that is a political statement. From a reality standpoint, that is a blatant falsehood, a lie, and there is no evidence to prove that Tamil is the oldest language. Apart from these Dravid politicians, and because there was this entire political movement, what they started doing was, they started a lot of writing those research papers and PhDs and all. They flooded the academia with a lot of articles, research, papers, etc. in good and bad and ugly journals, which tried to prove this theory. Now, here comes the other part of the confusion. So even though they have this theory of Tamil being the oldest, there is no actual convergence among Tamil people that how Tamil is the oldest language. Some people believe that the more religious people who are forced to believe that Tamil is the oldest language for survival, they believe that Tamil was founded by, say, Jagatsya, and he founded this Tamil language long ago, and that has survived through traditions. There are other people who are deeply religious. They say that this Tamil language came out from Shivji's Damru. So they are the religious people, and hence because it came from Shivji's Damru, it is bound to be the oldest language. But then there are these modernists, the founders of this Dravidian theory, who say that actually there was some proto-Dravidian language or something joker language like that, of which, so the whole theory rests on this, that there was something called some Aryan language, then from there all these Sanskrit and then English and all those Hindi and all languages came. There was some proto-Dravidian language from this Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, etc. came up. And so everybody has. So there are 20 different types of charts that they have how language is broken. The interesting part is that in all this Mungeri Lal ke Haseen Sapne, there's all this fantasy world, the heavens and hells they have created, just like the books of Quran and Bible, about how the the rest of the world looks like. The fact is that there is no single evidence of any of this proto-language or photo-language or goto-language existing in the world. It is just a fiction of creation, just to bridge all the gap as per their own theories. So then they start shouting that, okay, there is a lot of academic research which proves that Tamil is the oldest language, hence it is the most oldest language. The reality is that nobody has got into even understanding what that research looks like. Now, those people who have been into research, who have been into PhDs or publishing papers, they know that paper publishing has a very typical standard procedure. You have to, especially in fields like literature and language. In science, you still have some freedom to do original work, because a mathematical equation is a mathematical equation, an experiment is an experiment, there are results, there are tangible outputs that you can show. In fields like history, psychology and all, what happens is those things are not there. So first of all, most of these journals are peer-reviewed journals, which means when you submit a paper, there will be some 5, 6 or 4 or 3, depending on the journal, people who will evaluate and see whether that paper is fit for publishing or not. So number one, if your academia is filled with those people who believe in that particular ideology, the other paper gets cancelled completely. That is why sometimes, there are even research papers in management at least, which talk about how cartels work in this research paper industry. The second thing is research paper works on citing evidence of past papers, especially in these historic fields. So what happens is, if I have to write a paper today, I have to give evidence to some of the older paper and research that has happened. Unless I do that, my paper will not get published, or one paper publication may take years and years and years. So what I do is I just do that incremental research, looking at what others have done, taking their reference and adding a bit to it. So if I have to, hijack or hack this entire paper cartel, what I have to do is I have to make sure that all the references which are existing are references which kind of propel my ideology. So for that, what I do, the papers which were created, which were, the papers which form these references, they would have some other papers that they are referring. So they will have some other papers. So what happens is, if in the beginning, if in the initial stage, in the first stage, you can flood the academia with the papers of your choice, then the rest of the thing is going to be like a chain reaction. So here what British did was, British did a very wonderful work. It was British who, I think there was some Robert Caldwell or somebody around the time of the Indian War of Independence. He wrote some book on Indian grammar or something. It was, I think, Robert Caldwell. So he wrote a book and then he tried to prove. So he first wrote the book and said, look, this is the difference in different languages in India, and hence he said that Tamil is the oldest and all. So he gave that theory. This Robert Caldwell was a Christian missionary. He had a very clear agenda to divide India, to convert India into a Christian state. So he first published that research. Then India was busy fighting the War of Independence and stabilizing, and based on that, the British itself created a huge amount of literature. Then they used a lot of Indian scholars, chamchas, the babus, the brown sahibs, to do further research, gave them fund. So before even India got independent, forget about independent, before even 20th century, there was a huge amount of literature that British published, which said that, Tamil is different from Sanskrit, this language is different from Sanskrit, this is oldest. And now, if any Indian has to do a research, if any Indian has to get a degree, has to get a doctorate in that field, he has to cite those research. He cannot question that, because all the colleges, everything is run by British. Till 1947, the education is managed by British. And then in 47, we had this very secular Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, who was also a socialist, a communist, I would say. He was a cross of liberal and communist. He was communist when it came to his policies. He was liberal when it came to his personal life. So what he did was, he created an education curriculum which actually furthered the British agenda. And there he put it. So Jawaharlal Nehru had a very smart way of doing things, which was good. It was good when it came to fields like science and technology. What he would do, he had a very simple approach. For any domain, any field, anything that he would do, he would appoint a team of experts with good track record. He would look at their academic credentials, he would look at their background, and he will appoint them. So what happened was, in fields like science and technology, it was like geniuses like PC, Mahalanobis, and J.C. Bose and all these experts that we know about. I think it was not J.C. Bose, but there are many others. Even Vikram Sarabhai, and also people Vishweshwariya died long ago. There were others, so I can give you the list. So these were the Meghnath Saha. So these were the people who were given the task of creating the science and technology vision for the nation, and that is why we had these wonderful institutions of IITs and then atomic research centers, Homi Jahangir Bhabha, for example, and a lot many things. When it came to field like art and soft sciences, the education, there all these communists, because they only had the track record of doing this kind of research, all these British paid people, they hijacked the system. And from 1947 till today, especially in fields like the outdated, the less glamorous fields, which do not attract serious students because they offer limited career choice, apart from being a teacher and writing papers. So fields like history, they have even fields like Sanskrit, for that matter, the official curriculum of Sanskrit, they were hijacked by these communist mindsets. And even today that is existing. So they are the ones who publish paper, they are the ones who will give you degree, they are the ones who will approve your research, and hence your entire history, language, etc. It is their voice, which was actually the voice that British started. So the British were very smart to put the seed, and that has grown into a separatist movement. That is the reality. Now, let me give you one more important point. That point is, well, I will not argue if modern Tamil is the oldest language in the world. I will not argue. I would in fact say that maybe modern Tamil is a language which is the oldest language in the universe, or maybe it was a language which existed even before the Big Bang. Maybe, you may believe whatever. Because this modern Tamil is quite modern, we don't know. Maybe it was before Big Bang, who cares? But at least the old Tamil, the oldest Tamil, the ancient Tamil, that definitely is not older than Sanskrit of the Vedas. There are reasons to believe that yes, that old Tamil may be older. That old Tamil may be older than the modern classical Sanskrit. The Sanskrit of Kalidasa, the Sanskrit of Mritchakatikam, the Sanskrit of Geet Govind, it may be older. And there are, because this Sanskrit is different, but when you come to Vedas, the Vedic Sanskrit, the root of Sanskrit, the foundation of Sanskrit, the old Tamil, there is no reason to believe that old Tamil is older than Vedic Sanskrit. The entire argument, the defense of old Tamil being oldest lies on the fact, they say that because the oldest written inscriptions that we have found are in Tamil language. The reality of the fact is that even those old written inscriptions are hardly 300 BC old. So much later than even the Buddha era. So it is just like, saying that it is as crazy as saying that, how do I put this ridiculous analogy? Maybe saying that Rahul Gandhi is the wisest fellow in the world, because of all the people that I can see right now in this room, he seems to be the most intelligent. So it is like, because I definitely know that Sanskrit is a language which is far older than the Buddhist era. But because I could find written inscriptions hardly 300 years before Christ, which is even by the modern viewpoint of these the viewpoint, the birth of Buddha is supposed to be around 623 BC. So the birth of Buddha, as per these modernists themselves, is 623 BC. They are finding written inscriptions which are 300 BC, is 323 years later than what they themselves agree to be the start of Buddha age. And based on that, they say that this is the oldest language. Now, even if we come to that language, first of all, that language is not in the current Tamil script. That is in a script which is a mix, which they call proto or whatever, some crazy Brahmi script. So the theory is that earlier, before Devanagari, there was a Brahmi script, and I have no objection. Maybe there would have been multiple scripts. When we say that Sanskrit is the oldest language, we don't say that Devanagari script is the oldest script. The scripts may have changed for ages and ages. Sanskrit was mostly transmitted orally. People would write, and maybe they would have different forms of writing and writing ways, because writing is just a way to depict the reality, depict what you are hearing. So maybe the writing forms have changed, no dispute. Maybe the current Tamil is the oldest written form in the world. But when it comes to language, even that 300 BC old, those inscriptions, whatever they have found, that is not same as the current Tamil script. And that script is also similar to the Brahmi script in which Sanskrit used to be written. That is one part. The second part is, if you go to all the rest of the literature of Tamil, it is full of Sanskrit words. So, from a logical standpoint, your entire argument based on written inscriptions is only 300 BC year old. And we have very clear evidence that Sanskrit at least existed far before Buddha, who was at 623 BC. Number two, all the literature that you have after that is post 300 BC, and it is full of Sanskrit words. In fact, for most of the part, it was actually kind of flooded with Sanskrit. So you cannot separate Tamil and Sanskrit. So at best, you can say that I don't know. At best, you can say I don't know whether Sanskrit is oldest or Tamil is oldest. But to the farthest that I can see, I find that they have coexisted. So if you make this kind of a conservative statement, I can still agree that maybe you are an unbiased researcher. Based on whatever you have concluded, you can say that maybe both of them are equally old. Now, they also make another claim that this Tamil is not related at all to Sanskrit. That is a very popular claim. They try to prove that this comes from a Dravidian branch of languages and Sanskrit is an Aryan branch of languages. And they give you a lot of, I would say, fake examples. The reason they give fake examples is that they have not studied Sanskrit grammar in detail. They have not studied the Vedas. What they do is they tactfully just looked at the classical Sanskrit, the Sanskrit of Kalidas, and they make their assumptions and make their conclusions. They don't look at the Sanskrit of the Vedas first to begin with. For example, now if a language, to find out whether a language is a derivative of some other language, you have to look at two things in the language primarily. One thing, the words, the root words, and number two, some of those verb formations. So if you talk of root words, there are ample amount of root words which are from Sanskrit, and those which are not from Sanskrit also. They may not be from classical Sanskrit, from Vedic Sanskrit, or from some of those methods that Maharshi Panini has given in his Ashtadhyayi to modify each word. If you get into those things, you will find that yes, those roots exist. I'll come to that later. That's the easier part. The other part on which they tout a lot is that our verbs are different. So here I am going to give you an example. I don't know, this I am giving example from old Tamil language. So maybe the modern Tamil is the oldest language in the universe, maybe even before universe. But when it comes to old Tamil language, and I am just taking this thing from the Wikipedia article on old Tamil language. So that, because these articles are also written by these people who propound this theory of Tamil being a separate and an older language. So let me just take from this. Maybe as I am talking, you can also go to Wikipedia, you can type old_Tamil_ language in Wikipedia, or old Tamil language. So here they have given an example of the two tenses in the second para. So let me read out. It says, Old Tamil had only two tenses, the past and the non-past. Old Tamil verbs also had a distinct negative conjugation. And it gives an example of distinct negative conjugation which says kanena, which means if you add a na to the end of a verb, it becomes a no. So this adding of na to make it no is a very, very, very clear, common Sanskrit form of communication, which is also existing in all the Sanskrit offshoots that have come today. Even in Bengali, even in Hindi, even in Marathi, I don't know, in every language, when you say na, no, even in English, that means negation. So this negation is something, so Sanskrit uses na and ma. So this negation is clearly from Sanskrit influence. Then, and this is what nobody has talked about. It says that negative kano na, and it says we do not see. So if it is I do not see, I say kano na, and if it is we do not see, I say kano ma. So here is the interesting point. This na and ma, first of all, this na and ma for negative also exist in Sanskrit. The second, this form is directly taken from something called lot lakar. In Sanskrit, what happens is, in the verb, there are 10 different forms of verb endings to depict, every word, every dhatu, every verb can be modified in 10 different forms to express whether something is a past tense or a future tense or a command or a request or something. So one of them is a lot lakar. Lot lakar is used when it is used in form of an order or a command. So, for example, if the dhatu is gam, the lot lakar looks like gachatu, gachatam, gachantu, and gach, gachatam, gachat, gachani, gachav, gacham. So when it comes to me, it says if I have to order myself, I will say gachani. Gachani means go, so gachani. If the dhatu is kan means whatever. Let us assume that kan means see. So kanani, I should see, I order myself to see. And if it is we, then it is kanama. So gachani, gachava, gachava is for two. Let us forget the dual for the time being. So singular, it is kanani, na, and when it is plural, it is ma. In old Tamil language also, when it is for I, they say kanana, and for we, they